This is the new 7 Artisans 24mm f1.8. If you are looking for a 24mm lens for your full frame Sony camera and you have a tight budget of around $300 US, well, this one might be the one for you. And I say $300 US, but the price of this may have skyrocketed or plummeted just depending on when you are watching this video. Seems like Chinese lens prices are about as stable as altcoins are these days. So check out the links down in the description. In this video, I am checking out this 7 Artisans lens, and I personally wanted to see how it compares to my Sony G Master 24mm. So I'm going to do a little quick comparison as well, and the results are surprising. So let's begin. This 24mm has a metal build and it feels good. Tolerances are tight, nothing looks cheap, but the button and the switch certainly feel cheap. Weight is 424 grams, which is just about a pound, and just a few grams lighter than the G Master, which is a little longer as well. Starting at the rear, there is a metal mount, electronics, a USB-C port for firmware updates, no weather sealing gasket here, and as far as I can tell, this lens is not weather sealed anywhere. The autofocus manual focus switch is plasticky feeling with not the tightest fitment, and it protrudes a little bit too high as I bumped this into manual focus a few times on accident while taking photos. By comparison, the autofocus manual focus switch on the Sony is flush, so you can't move it on accident. This 7 Artisans also has a focus hold button, which is clicky and made out of some cheap feeling hard plastic, but hey, at least it's there. The first ring is aperture control. It is declicked and there is no option for clicks. It is smooth, a little heavy to rotate, which I like, and there is a slight click into A for auto from f16. The lens specs are on top, 7 Artisan logo on the bottom, and then we get to the focus ring, which is a bit on the stiff side. It is smooth, however, but requires a bit too much heft to rotate, and the grip isn't great. Around the front is a convex front element, more lens specs, a logo, and minimum focus of 1.05 feet and a 62mm filter thread. Inside there are 14 elements in 11 groups, an 11 bladed diaphragm, and advanced autofocus inside, which is some sort of stepper motor. Mounted on my A7C, it is a fine looking lens. The design is simple, but the switch and the aperture ring is nice to have. But it all comes down to performance. So here are some sample images straight from my A7C and this lens. No edits, although I did run any portraits through Rebloom, which is an AI-powered touch-up software that I've been impressed with lately. It doesn't affect the colors or the sharpness or the detail. It just cleans up temporary blemishes. Anyway, let's take a look at what this lens can do. Ready, set, go. Alright, this lens has a whole lot of optical problems, but looking at the samples you would never have guessed. And honestly, most people, unless you are looking for problems, you won't see anything to complain about. And I say this because I was expecting this lens to be a whole lot worse than it is optically. Sharpness in the center of the frame wide open is excellent, as are the colors and the contrast levels. The corners are not quite as sharp, and they are certainly darker. The vignetting is pretty heavy, and stopping down to f2.8 and f4 didn't improve it much. For fun, here is a side-by-side comparison between this $300 7 Artisans lens and the $1,300 Sony G Master. Now for this first shot, here is the 7 Artisans lens, and here is the Sony. Again, 7 Artisans and Sony. What you'll notice is that the 7 Artisans has a bit of pincushion distortion. It's a wavy pincushion compared to the flat camera corrected image that the G Master produces. Side by side, it looks like the Sony is darker across the frame, but that's because it is at f1.4, and in reality, the 7 Artisans has some very dark corners. But if you look at sharpness, center of the frame, I think the 7 Artisans holds up. Even the corners don't look worse to me, until you stop the G Master down to f1.8, at which point the corners on that do start to look better. The last thing I noticed is the warmer colors and tones with the 7 Artisans lens. The G Master has the more correct, real colors, while the cheaper lens seems to be adding that gold hue to the frame. Here's another example, and what was interesting to me was chromatic aberration performance. The G Master is at f1.4, and it is showing a lot of fringing here. The 7 Artisans is definitely warmer across the frame, but I'm surprised by the sharpness. Even stopping the G Master down to f1.8, look at the chromatic aberration performance. It just doesn't make any sense. The corners look sharper on the 7 Artisans here, and the color fringing is better controlled. Look, I'm not saying this lens is a replacement for the G Master, but the results are surprising to me. It's shocking to see this level of chromatic aberration control from a $300 autofocusing lens, and it means that these companies are getting closer and closer to achieving insane performance, at least for those on a budget. The bokeh performance is excellent as well. It's nice and smooth. The balls themselves have no glaring issues. You get nice subject separation wide open. Close focus is not great at about 1 foot, and up close subjects were a little bit on the hazy side wide open, so I wouldn't recommend this for up close work. Flare performance is about average. There are some larger elements even with the lens hood on, but contrast levels aren't terrible. Focus breathing is almost a non-issue. This lens doesn't breathe in and out when you rack the focus. The edges move in a strange way a bit like image distortion while having some sort of optical stabilization. In this case, it's while it's focusing, but there's no real breathing to complain about. Then I have to talk about the autofocus. There is a slight whirring noise, but overall it's very, very quiet. You won't notice that unless you are using on-camera audio. The autofocus in AF Continuous is quite snappy and responsive. It tracks a subject very well, and even the odd pop-up from the bottom trick, it handles quite quickly. Oh, and everything that you've been watching since the samples has been shot on this 7 Artisans lens. Did you notice that I switched from a $1,300 lens to a $300 one? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm genuinely perplexed by this one. It is one of 7 Artisans' best releases in a while, and I didn't think that it would even be half as good as it is. And I'm not trying to sell you guys on it. I don't care if you buy it. Don't just buy stuff to buy stuff. What I will say is that I am shocked by the value that this $300 lens represents. It has a lot of flaws: the warm colors, vignetting that stays seemingly forever, strange wavy pincushion, softer corners, not so great flare performance, and no weather resistance. However, it is also a very capable 24mm that holds its own even against arguably the best 24mm out there. And for that reason, if you can live with the issues that I outlined in this video, for the price of $300, you get a lot of performance for the money in an all metal body. Now, if you have a larger budget, there are options from Rokinon that are around that $400 price range that might be worth looking at, but for around $300 US, I don't think that anything else comes close to this one. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.